We'll stand for a moment of silence. Join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, council persons.
Lehman. Here. Kodak.
Here.
Cassidy.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Mendoza. Here. Lake.
Here. Everyone is present. Approval of the digital minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Cassidy and second by Baker for the digital minutes. Please call the roll.
Kodak.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
I'm not used to you sitting up there. I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have any communications?
I do. The Ohio Division of Liquor Control would like to know if council wants to hold a hearing for a liquor license for the doing business as Little Mexican Restaurant. Or if it's okay to pass it.
Anyone have any objections? Being none. Reports of Finance Committee.
We have no update. I will say that with our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 20th at 5:30 p.m.
Public Affairs.
Quite a few events to report on. Lunch on the Lawn will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, August 7th, from noon to 1 p.m. on the City Building lawn, with entertainment by Melissa Prodinger and food by Daddy and Kay's. In case of rain, the event will be moved across the street to the banquet room. The Farmers and Artisans Market will be downtown Fostoria this Thursday, August 8th, from 4 to 8 p.m. and next Saturday, August 17th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Grandma's House is hosting a community dinner at Jackson Park this Saturday, August 10th, from 2 to 7 p.m. The Fostoria Community Arts Council Summer Concert Series will have the Toledo-based all-woman quartet called Bliss this Sunday, August 11th, at Foundation Park, Wainwright Amphitheater from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. The Fostoria Rotary Club is hosting the Downtown Summer Fling fundraiser next Thursday, August 15th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at Market Square Park. The local band 7080 will be playing at the Urban Woody stage as part of their summer concert series next Saturday, August 17th, from 6 to 9 p.m. And finally, Bougie on a Budget will be hosting a back-to-school event at 110 East North Street, which will include a store sale, kids party, and craft vendors on Sunday, August 18th from 12 to 6 p.m. Thank you.
Okay. Law and Ordinance Committee.
The Law and Ordinance Committee will meet Tuesday, August 20th at 5:15 here in council chambers.
Thank you. The mayor's not here tonight. Director of Public Service and Safety.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to touch for a minute on that big rainstorm from Friday night. Unfortunately, when we have a big rain, we get 3 or 4 inches in 30 to 40 minutes. We're kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature. So, when the pipes get to their capacity, no matter what we've done at the sewer plant at the other end, it can get it to the plant. So it's going to back up in people's basements. So I know one of the things we've been talking about, or some of the things we've been talking about that homeowners can do, is take a look at your downspouts, make sure they're not tied in to your laterals, which is your line that goes out to the street. Because then if you can get your downspouts pointed away from a house, you can potentially shoot some of that water away from the house. Some of the things you look at, if you have a drain in your basement, take a look at maybe getting a drain plug or some sort of backflow preventer in that drain line, but when the rain comes down like that as fast as it did on Friday night, we're just kind of at the mercy of Mother's Nature. So tonight we're hoping to have a presentation from the folks from the GLOW initiative that we've been talking to you about, but I think that it will now be a next week presentation. The folks that run that program with the city about the lead lines and getting information out to the community about lead lines and the work that they're going to do with us. We'll have a Zoom link for them. They'll do a presentation for city council so you can hear it straight from them. It's going to be a great project for the city and a big program to help us complete what we need to get done for the EPA and to get information out to the community about the importance of getting rid of those lead lines. And then the last thing I have is 7L Construction started on Monday doing some milling of the streets. They started around the high school and started on Park Avenue today before the rained them out. And their plan is to be in and out of here before school starts. So look forward to having that project done. And work continues on all the pieces and parts we need to do down on Lytle Street so we can be ready for that big project next year. So that is all I have tonight for a presentation. If you have any questions, yes, sir.
The lead, is that on the city side after or before the meter? Is the lead they're finding on?
So there's two different pieces to it. Our requirements are to identify all of the lead lines that are from the main line up to the curb stop.
Okay.
But we're also required to find the ones that are from the curb stop up to into the homeowner's meter. Then our requirement next from the city's requirements from the EPA will be to start to work on eliminating all those that go from the main line to the curb stop. And I don't know what's coming next for homeowners, if there's going to be some sort of program that the EPA has, but we will have the identification of it is what we need to do and give homeowners information on the importance of them eliminating those pieces themselves, because anything up to that curb stop is the homeowners, but I'm not sure what the EPA will have in store to help with that. We don't know that yet.
That's just water lines, correct?
Yeah, those are water lines. Yep.
Think that could be some of the reason the water tastes?
No, that's a whole different thing. That has to do with what's in the reservoirs,
Right.
are the MIBs and geosmin, which are they're organisms. They aren't harmful, but the problem with them is they give off an odor and they give off a taste, and so that's what we're trying to use the carbon to eliminate before it gets to the plant. Right?
Director of Law?
Thank you. So we have some new legislation regarding this Kroger opioid settlement that you'll see on your agenda. We are already receiving payments as part of a large nationwide opioid settlement for the class action. They are just now adding on Kroger as an additional payee, an additional defendant that we will be getting payments from if we were to opt into this. We do have outside counsel for all of our opioid litigation. So, and I have been in discussion with them. They've looked it over. They do recommend that we opt into this. We've opted in on all of the other ones. So if you guys are inclined to opt in, which I would also recommend, we do need to pass that as an emergency just because we have to get them our authorization, our legislation by the next court date. So if you guys would want to pass that by emergency tonight. And that's all I have, unless there are questions.
Director of Finance?
Just to follow up on the opioid settlement, to date, the city's received about $72,000 in opioid settlements from a variety of different organizations and entities. We have not spent any of that money at this point. The law director has been working with the police and fire chief in terms of how we can spend that money legally. So I'm happy to report that July is balanced. Tomorrow I'll be sending out reports for the end of July to all the council members, so we can talk about them at our finance committee on 8/20, but you'll have them tomorrow. Also on 8/20 at the finance committee meeting, Red Tree Investments will be here to give us an investment review year to date to talk about where our portfolio is and how it's positioned for the remainder of the year. The safety service director and I have started to plan for budgeting purposes for next year. Eric's been gracious enough to take me out to meet with all the supervisors and really educate me more on how the city operates and where things are at, so that as we begin to do budgeting for next year, what the supervisors and what Eric is telling me, I at least have a perspective on what the heck it is. So I appreciate his time that he's spent doing that so far. You have two resolutions tonight to pass on an emergency basis. The first is we received $11,525 from the Seneca County Park District to pay to move the batting cages off the tennis courts at Foundation Park. This legislation, we've received those dollars. Now we have to appropriate and say, yes, you can spend those. So that's what that first piece of legislation is. The second piece of legislation is twofold. I'll start with Section 3, appropriating $5,500 in the Park and Rec Fund. So what happens on occasion, we receive notice from individuals who have worked here back in the 80s, 70s as seasonal help, and now they are buying their time, but they opted out of OPERS at the time they were here. We have to go back, and now that they're buying that time, we have to pay our match on that time that they're buying. So that $5,500 is related to somebody who's buying their time back, and that's our match on their retirement. So that $5,500 needs to be appropriated. But before we do that, we do not have enough money in the Park and Rec Fund for that necessarily. So we are asking you to appropriate an additional $12,000 out of the general fund of Parks and Rec. The other $7,500 or $7,000 is for other expenses that we've under budgeted for in that account. Questions on that before I move forward? Section 4, the $29,850, we received a grant from Hancock County Park District last year that should have been recorded in the Hancock Park Fund. It was inappropriately recorded into our Park and Rec Fund. So we need to actually move those dollars out and into the Hancock Park Fund, but we need you to approve that payment out. So that's what Section 5 is, and that's a correction of an error from last year. The $15,695,000, we received a grant from the Ohio Ambulance Impact Industry Program. So this is a grant through the state of Ohio. What it is excess ARPA funds, and they came back with a second round of grants. We submitted a proposal for $180,000. They were able to approve $15,000. That's how much they received in requests on this second and final round of spending the ARPA dollars. So we received that grant, but because it wasn't in the budget, we now need to, before we can spend them, you need to approve that as part of the budget. So that's what Section 5 is doing, is allowing us to spend that $15,000. Section 6 is related to Section 2. You've appropriated $12,000 to go into the Park and Rec from general. This is actually now approving that transfer. So a lot of words to move a lot of money around, and really it's not a lot of money, but you need to understand what we're doing there. Any questions? That's all I have.
Thank you. Now, members of the public, we have Deb Tyson.
Well, Deb Tyson, 800 Woodward Avenue, Lot 9. I went to the zoning appeals meeting, and I was the only one there. There was one other person from Fostoria. They were kind enough to give me a ride home. So we talked, but that meeting got continued. And I would like everybody to take a note. That continued meeting is going to be August 19th, which is a Monday, just before the next city council meeting, 7 p.m. It's at Washington Township, the firehouse, and they let us speak. Normally, they don't let us speak during the zone. And they told me to sign the paper because normally I wouldn't sign the paper for that. And they had a trustee there. They had some other people there, and nobody wanted to sign the paper. I signed the paper because I was told to. But I'm thinking, why am I signing the paper? So the meeting goes on, and we're waiting to see if they're going to deny it, what they're going to do. And they're like, we need you to come up here, Deb, and speak. I had nothing really to say, but I got up there and spoke, and then 5 other people, did you sign? No. So they had to sign, and they spoke, and it was because the lawyer handed 450 pages to them just as the meeting was starting that they were supposed to consider, which only handed them one copy of it. So there's no way that all them people could on the board could look at it. Wasn't doable. And she didn't know anything about what was in it. So with that said, the prosecuting attorney told us how it's going through the court, the first one denial that ever happened and everything. So yeah, they're just kind of wasting our time. But if we don't show up, then we're kind of losing our rights. So I'm asking that if you can't come, find somebody that might can come. The other thing is the sidewalks here are really bad. Where I had an 80-year-old woman with me the other night, and she has a cane, and walking around the green space, she almost fell out in the road. So I don't know what can be done about that because I know that's money and got to be scheduled and all this. But yeah. So that's just what I had. So again, I'm inviting everybody. That's not just everybody here, but everybody that's going to look at this on YouTube. 7 p.m., Washington Township, 106 Gibson Street, Arcadia, Ohio, August 19th, Monday. Please be there. Thank you.
We have Renee Vogelsong.
Renee Vogelsong, 702 East High. She stole a little bit of my thunder, but that's okay. I'm going to be a little bit more specific on where I'm at. I don't come uptown with this cart very often. When I do walk, I don't pay attention to some things this cart would have to go through. The Windowland Fest, it was great. We loved it. Except right out here at the corner, this very corner right here where everybody can see it if they walk out there. I almost fell trying to get this to go down there to do the crosswalk because of how that handicap ramp is. It's sunk down. There's a curb up. There's mud down in it. Even when it's dry, the sand and dirt's down in there. Well, not only that, as I come across it, this young lady on a mobility cart, she got stuck in it. She was sitting there. A guy walked over from one of the cars and pushed her across. I said, you need to say something. Come up to the council and say something. No, I'm going to go right to the state. I don't know what she's reporting or how she's reporting it, but that is a hazard, a very bad hazard. Now, I understand there ain't a whole lot of money that goes to council. The council members do it because they want the city. They want to do it for the city. I appreciate that. But the thing is, if you're going to do it for the city, why do we have to come up here and tell you guys we got this problem, that problem, that problem on all these problems? Why can't y'all get out there on your hoofs and see these problems. I'm sure some of you was up to the window and fest. You could see how that sidewalk is coming down it. I stayed out on the road because of it. That sidewalk around the green space is not good. I mean, ain't that the landowners? But the curbs out there should be the city, right? Shouldn't that be the city's, I would think? But somebody's got to straighten that up. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how far she's taking it, but I'm taking it right here to you guys and try to get it fixed. And after I seen that, I started looking at some of the other ones, and some of the other ones is looking pretty nasty too. I'm trying to get a wheelchair or mobility cart or even this cart here across. But y'all recently wanted the job description put in paper on what it was for the clerk. I tried to go online to find out the job description for council. You know, it's about 2 lines, maybe 3 lines. Y'all really don't have none. That's not right. There should be a full job description on what you guys should be doing for the city for us, how you guys should be working with us, other than just passing legislation. There's got to be more to it than that. You know, you each one of you's got a ward, and then 3 of you's got the whole city. Why can't every once in a while you all go out there and see this stuff? Why does it have to be us as the public coming to it with everything? So I guess I'm not going to go into the other parts, but I think something needs to be looked at on getting a job description out so the public knows what each one of y'all's job description is in your wards. So we need to see that. We need to know why we got you on councils. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public need to speak? Please state your name and address and write your name down and limit yourself to 3 minutes.
Is it all right if I write my name down when we're finished so we can keep it rolling? Cool. My name is Jill Filiator. I'm at 402 West Culbertson Street. Originally, I was going to be on the agenda, but Eric was very gracious enough to answer my questions. But I do have a quick question, and it's a question in regards to the 2023-66. I know that the council president back in January, February, promised all of us that we would start having less of these emergency reads. In the past 3 sessions, it's almost all been emergency reads. I don't know how you as council can really make decisions when you're getting your paperwork and it's got to be an emergency, got to be an emergency. The whole concept is preparing so that you can look at it, so that people can look at it, so that when this moving of this funds, which is quite a bit of moving if you look at it, if you go back and look at it in the digital, we move quite a bit of money. And that is my one concern, that we need to be able to allow everybody a chance to look at it, to see what it is that you're approving, which the citizens don't even get a chance to understand because it's all emergency reads. Additionally, the other thing that I do have a question for, which is just to bring to your attention, is it's wonderful that we're looking at joining in on these opiate things and getting the things, but that also costs us legal fees. And I know there's been legal fees. So how much money in a course of a year are we putting out as citizens to fund legal things that are going on, legal things between council and the city and people in the city? My gut says it's quite a bit of money, and I'm hopeful that maybe the council can look into that and determine, are there some things that the council needs to look at to mitigate so we're not looking at these huge lawsuit concepts in the future that then take the monies and make it so that we don't have as much money because we're paying out to defend things that could have possibly been avoided in the council sessions to begin with. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public need to speak?
I just want to comment on what she commented about. I think our last meeting, everything that we passed was 3rd readings. Our special meeting was everything that went through that night was a 3rd reading of everything. So I don't think that we're skirting the issue on making sure the public knows what's going on. And most of these that we are passing as emergencies, which was one of the things that I brought up when I first came on the council, was transparency, is these are things that the money showed up, we have to appropriate it, and it has to be done in a timely manner. And a lot of times it can't be done in 3 readings. But I know the last meeting, Tom, you got here under duress so we could get that stuff passed. And that was almost everything on the agenda was 3rd readings.
It was. I think there might have been one that was second reading, but most of them were all 3rd readings because of the absentees of council members. You couldn't pass anything, and all those needed passed to pay the bills. They had to be passed. They should have been passed prior to that. And most of the money that's been moved is already there. It's just been moving from one fund to the other to pay the bills.
Mr. President, just if I could, just for clarification, when we say declaring an emergency to exist, that has nothing to do with the 3 reading rule. Declaring an emergency to exist means that we're not going to wait 30 days after council has passed it formally to put it in place. So there is that. Now, there are certain things that we pass by eliminating the 3 reading rule, and council makes a motion to forego the 3 reading rule, and agreeing with Councilman Podak, that has a lot to do with the timeliness of us to be able to pay bills and to make sure that we're staying current on the financial side of things. So don't misunderstand when you read something in the agenda that says declaring an emergency to exist, that we've automatically foregone the 3 reading rule, okay? It can be misleading.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment. Our paying bills with the city are just like everybody paying their own personal bills. We're under scrutiny, and we are going to be rated from a credit standpoint on the timeliness or untimeliness of paying bills. And in some cases, we really don't have an option but to go ahead and get this legislation through and get the money moved to satisfy debts that we have out there.
Yep. Moving on to old business. We have none. New business.
An ordinance granting consent to the Director of Transportation of the State of Ohio and authorizing the mayor on behalf of the City of Fostoria, Ohio, and herein after referred to as the Local Public Agency, LPA, to enter into contracts with the Director of Transportation necessary to complete described pavement repair projects and declaring an emergency to exist.
Will be the first reading of that ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Law to execute required documents to opt into and participate in the $1.2 billion Kroger opioid settlement and declaring an emergency to exist.
The first reading of that.
Move to suspend the 3 reading rule on 3 separate occasions.
Moved by Lehman, second by Cassidy to suspend the 3 reading rule. Call the roll, please.
Lehman,
Yes.
Podak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Lake. Yes.
Lake. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I keep forgetting you're over there.
Motion
Reading
to
rule has
adopt.
been suspended. Move to adopt.
Move. So move.
Moved by Lake to adopt, second by Podak. Please call the roll.
Lehman,
Yes.
Podak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes. That is ordinance number 69 to 2024-69. Okay. Thank you.
An ordinance amending section 505.01 of chapter 505 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio, entitled definitions, to include a definition of harbor.
Will be the first reading of that ordinance.
A resolution adopting and amending ordinance number 2023-66, permanent 2024 appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated funds in the Parks and Recreation Fund.
First reading of that resolution.
Move to suspend the 3 reading rule on 3 separate occasions.
Second.
Moved by Mendoza. Who seconded that? Second by Podak. Call the roll, please.
Lehman,
Yes.
Kodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Lake,
Yes. Reading rule has been suspended.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved to adopt by Mendoza, second by Hall. Call the roll, please.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Lehman,
Yes.
Kodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes. That'll be resolution 2024-70.
An ordinance adopting and amending ordinance number 2023-66, permanent 2024 appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated funds in the General Fund, Park and Recreation Fund, and Ohio Ambulance Grant Fire Fund, and transferring funds from the General Fund to the Park and Recreation Fund and declaring an emergency.
That's the first reading of that ordinance.
Move to suspend 3 reading rule on 3 separate occasions.
Second.
Who made that motion? Hall made the motion to suspend the 3 reading rule, and Cassidy seconded that. Call the roll, please.
Lehman,
Yes.
Kodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes. 3 reading rule has been suspended.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Oh, Cassidy made the motion to adopt, and Podak seconded that. Call the roll, please.
Kodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Lake,
Yes.
Lehman.
Yes.
That ordinance is 2024-71. Gets all the business we have to correct. Any need for an executive session? Being none, we have any miscellaneous?
I just have one thing, and I'm not going to give you the full answer. Maybe somebody else can. But next Thursday, the spring or the summer fling for Rotary, that band that's playing is a band that Steve Jarosky's in, something Creek. Sugar Creek.
Any other miscellaneous? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
By Lehman, second by Hall. Call the roll.
Was it Hall?
Hall.
Lehman,
Yes.
Kodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes. We're adjourned at 6:35, I believe.
Hey,
Gonna have